Welcome on into Dbacks Dispatch with your hosts Brett, Brandon, and Gabe here to discuss another D-Backs series recap. This one, unfortunately, is a Series L that we're getting to discuss. Thankfully, not a series sweep, so we'll get into that one a little bit. But this one, the D-Backs did take on the Milwaukee Brewers, a little bit of a revenge series for the Brewers after they got eliminated by the D-Backs in the wild card series last year. So the first time they matched up then. And we'll kind of get into a little bit deep dive with it, but the Brewers definitely took it to the D-Backs in the series and proved that, maybe whether we underestimated them a little bit or not, they definitely are on our radar a little bit more. But before the series even started, we did get a little bit of positive news. Gabby did return, or was projected to return within the week, and he returned in the final series. So we did get a little bit of positive news, at least with him there. But before we get into that, if this is your guys' first time here, at D-Backs Dispatch, welcome on in. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter and join our Discord as well. We have a bunch of Discord threads in there for game day threads and all that. And then make sure to check us out on AZ Snake Pit as well for a bunch of articles and deep dives and all that. But quickly getting into game one here with you fellas, D-Backs did end up losing 2-1. Wasn't the most exciting game. Wasn't the most snooze fest of a game. But again, the overall end to the game and whoever wins and loses is the biggest thing to look into. And this one, the D-Backs did lose 2-1. Erod was decent. He did have a lot of swing and miss and a lot of more strikeouts than I expected. But the offense could not get anything going past the first inning, other than a Pavin Smith sac fly there with the bases loaded. And then a Reese Hoskins home run there to put the Brewers up 2-1 was basically sadly the nail in the coffin, because like I said, the offense couldn't really get anything going here in game one. Credit to Freddie Peralta and the Brewers pitching staff. I know they mentioned on the broadcast a bunch that Freddie Peralta was going to more curveballs than fastballs, because he is known as Fastball Freddie. So maybe he just had the D-Backs off balance. But the main takeaway I had from this game is, obviously, as I said, Eduardo Rodriguez did have a pretty solid game. Still failed to get to 6 innings, which is unfortunate, but 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts on 90 pitches, with 12 whiffs isn't bad. Again, against a better team, it was a little bit of step in the right direction. But the thing that was kind of weighing on my mind, and why I want to ask you, Brandon and Gabe, is while the length pause is still something to keep an eye on with Rodriguez. He still has not gotten to 6 innings. What specifically in this game on Friday night stood out to you guys? And what did you like from him in this outing?
I guess for me, it's the fact that he can go 4 dominant innings. I think that's a positive sign, but it's also, a little worrying. But again, like we've talked about, this is literally like if he was pitching in early April, maybe early May, like 29 innings. That's like not even a month's worth of innings that he's been pitching so far this season. So he's still coming back. Like we can't expect him to be amazing because of that. So just the fact that he's at least his last few starts, minus I think maybe the one against the Astros, but even then he was pretty good against the Astros. Once he reaches the 5th inning, that's where he really struggles, and I think that's kind of a sign from all the D-Backs staff so far. But again, most of them are coming back from injury, so you can't expect him to go 5, 6, 7 innings just like nothing. We made a comparison with Garrett Cole as well. I mean, this guy is a Cy Young Award winner, and he struggled to come back too. But being able to go 4 innings, being pretty dominant for those 4 innings, just with the way that we can set this team up during the playoffs, I think 4 innings will honestly go a long way. We don't need him to be, going 7 innings or something like that. We kind of just need him keep us afloat, and then we can bring in, maybe another starter from the bullpen or another really good bullpen arm. But gave us a chance to win. Fortunately, this team couldn't capitalize on that.
Yes, I think that's a great point. Is going into the final month of the season, we just need to see him tone it or hone in his stuff a little bit. Like you said, if we can get some 4 solid innings, along with the rest of the bullpen, making sure they kind of fall in line, lock it down. I think that would be really really keeping him. I noticed the high fastball from him was something that they mentioned on the broadcast. It was a little surprising to me, especially knowing he doesn't throw a really hard fastball. So that was kind of one of the things where, to me personally, I was like, maybe that's something that he has to do a little bit more is go to an area that hitters might not be expecting. But same question to you, Brandon. What stood out from Erod in his outing on Friday night that maybe you might have kept your eye on throughout?
His whiffs, like in 5 innings, 12 whiffs was a very encouraging sign to me. With his stuff, like it's all about command and control. If he can get these guys to whiff, I think that to me that shows that his stuff is working. I'm still like Gabe said, this was like he's at 29 innings before the start. That literally is the first month of the season. So, like, if he was pitching this way in May, most of us wouldn't be that worried. It's due to the fact he missed 3 months of the season. So now, like, every start is super critical. I just, we need him to go longer. Like, we need him to be more efficient. Like, someone like him, we can't have him go 4 innings because everybody is going 4 and 5 innings. Our bullpen is going to be tired here very quickly. So, like this next round through the rotation, this might be a bit outrageous. I want to see them all go at least 6 innings. Like they really need to do that to save this bullpen because they are going to be taxed, and then we're going to see with the last like week and a half of the season, we're going to see a lot of losses from the bullpen because they're all so tired. And those losses could be the difference between in the playoffs and out of playoffs. So as long as Erod keeps taking a step forward, I'm good. Don't like have a decent start like this, and then your next start, don't even get through 3. So just keep moving forward. You are muted.
Yeah, same. I had to unmute myself. Sorry, getting used to that. I think one of the things, especially we'll kind of get into it, is 2 of the guys that we've really relied on the last few months have been Brandon Pfaadt and Ryan Nelson. One of them is going on the IL. One of them, we'll dive into in game 2, has not been what we expected. So getting even just something like 4 innings, 5 innings, like me personally, I'll take 5 innings of 1-run, 2-run ball, because that's solid for a pitcher, especially in a playoff game. And before we move on to game 2, it definitely is a little bit of a highlight, not in a good way, on the offense, because Pavin Smith right here, as you guys are going to see, he made a really nice play before being Pavin in left field and kept the Brewers from being able to score.
It looks so awkward. It looked like a little junior hire. Like he's like right, like it didn't look very athletic. He got the job done. It didn't look athletic though.
Exactly, he got the job done. Didn't look good doing it, but the offense just in itself didn't show up in game 1, which is a little unfortunate. After the Corbin leadoff single in the 5th inning, Cattell had a ground ball double play. Jock had a single. Christian Walker had a walk. And you're like, oh, cool. The offense is going. They're going to get something going. No. Once Christian Walker had that walk in the 5th inning, the offense went 0 for 12 with 1 walk, 1 ground ball into a double play, and 3 strikeouts, and 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Just in general, the offense was not doing good. So Erod kind of got left hanging or left out to dry a little bit because, again, 2 runs against this Brewers offense. And I know we talked about it before the series where there's not that many guys that are going to, maybe jump off the page. But the Brewers, this isn't the 2023 Brewers. They do have a little bit more pop in their lineup, and they definitely showed it. And Rhys Hoskins was one of those. But thankfully, the offense did show up in game 2. Just unfortunately, the pitching did not follow suit and do what Erod could, because game 2, the Dbacks were just bludgeoned by the Brewers, 15-8. The final score looks a lot better than what the actual game was. I was there in person, and some of you guys in chat. Also, speaking of chat, shout out to Corbin Barrels, Shug, Red Sox Nation, Bubba, and then V. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Any of you guys that were actually there for the game on Saturday, you guys would probably know it was not fun. The D-backs were down 12-0, I believe, in the fourth inning. The second inning alone was a heartbreaker. D-backs were already down 1-0. A Wilson Contreras sac fly in the first inning put the Brewers up. Corbin Carroll looked like he was going to tie the game, but Sal Frelick made an insane leaping grab at the wall that would have immediately made the game go from a 1-1 tie to, the leadoff hitter being out. So it might not show up in the box score as much as other plays, but that was a huge play for the Brewers to start off because kept the D-backs off the scoreboard. And then in the top of the second, Brandon Pfaadt looked like he was doing good. He got 2 quick outs to start the inning. And then the wheels just seemed to fall off there because after those 2 outs, the Brewers ended up putting up which actually here's a really cool clip before the bad side of Brandon Pfaadt. Him and ADC teamed up for a really cool trick play here. Runners on first and third, 2 outs. Runner tried to steal, threw back to the pitcher, picked him off at third, and that was basically the only highlight because, like I said, in that second inning, 7 runs on 2 outs. Brandon Pfaadt just could not escape that second inning. I don't know if it was. I don't know exactly what it was, but he has not looked good over his last 7 starts. He's 4-3, 35 and third innings. He has a 7.9 ERA and a 1.78 WHIP. So after this game, one of the things, I messaged you guys in the group chat. One of the things that was kind of pointing out to me, and what I wanted to ask you guys was, are his struggles due to him maybe potentially being a bit gassed from reaching this high innings limit? He is, I believe, 2 innings away from being at a career high. He had 167 in the minor leagues in 22. And I believe he's at 166. Or is it just, he wasn't executing and the Brewers themselves just had a good game plan and they were prepared for it? So, Gabe, I want to start with you first. What do you think is the main factor behind Pfaadt's struggles in this one?
So the thing with Pfaadt is that he is young. He had 167 innings in the minor leagues, but he was incredibly dominant in the minor leagues. So he wasn't throwing a lot of pitches going into 6-7 innings. So you can, to a certain extent, stat pad in the minor leagues, especially concerning innings. In the major leagues, you just can't. If you pitch 6 innings, if you pitch 7 innings, those are very taxing innings compared to the minor leagues. So I think the fact that he's had to be, and we say this all the time, like a joke mostly, but he's had to be the ace of this staff. He's had to carry this staff. At the beginning of the year, we were saying it's between him and Nelson to get the 5th spot. He was supposed to be our 5th starter, and instead he's had to be the ace of the staff. And with the way that this offense is during his starts, where they average like 3 runs or something crazy like that, he's had to be perfect. And that weighs on you and your body. Like, it's not like you're just going up there, being loose and having fun, which is what they always tell you. I know, Brett, you've played, but I'm sure at some point a pitching coach probably told you, like, just be loose. You look too anxious, you look too stressed out there. And Pfaadt wears his emotions on his sleeve. You can see him when he's stressing out there with his little rosy red cheeks and everything. Like, you can tell when something is wrong. And I think at this point, he's just, whether it's physically or emotionally, he's drained. And I know he took the full blame in the press conference, saying like, no, he felt fine, blah, blah, blah. But he's kind of doing a veteran move, saying, just taking the blame, not putting excuses on anything else. But I do think he's just tired, and maybe Montgomery should take a page out of that notebook and take some accountability.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you. I think, he's been used more, especially looking back the D-backs injury luck this year. Of every pitcher, especially now that Ryan Nelson has gone on the IL, Brandon Pfaadt has been the only pitcher from opening day to now that has avoided the injury list, that has been healthy all season long. He has not been, like I said earlier, he's not been the ace that we made the joke about, him being the true ace of the staff. There's been times where he has, times that he has not. But whether he has or hasn't, it's been a big key that he has just been healthy enough to stay in this rotation, because we're struggling and we're staying afloat right now. Like, barely making it into the playoffs in September, and that's with him being healthy. So without him kind of eating up some of those innings throughout the year, I'm not sure we're in the same exact spot. But Brandon, same question to you. Do you think it was more of a issue with, or maybe more leaning to him and his high inning limit, or was he just, genuinely just not executing the way that he should have been?
For me, I think he's truly gassed at this point. Like, it's not due to the fact that he's at his near innings limit. I think there's the added stress of him knowing, like, I've been pitching well for the most part all season, so he's trying to do it every start. And I just think the last few he's kind of struggled a little bit. But no, those recent numbers, the last 7 starts, I'm pretty sure that coincides with a certain catcher not being on the roster. That like that timing makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't have an issue with ADC or Herrera, and we'll get into this later, but I think the recent struggles with the starting pitching, we are seeing it. Like, last season, we just thought, like, this team just kept losing. This year, it's so noticeable. Like, I love Cattell. I love Carroll. Gabby's our MVP. Like, the little definition of most valuable player. So I'm hoping that if they can manipulate who starts to see if maybe they can get fought maybe like one time where he goes like 6 days or 7 days in between starts. That way he can just kind of catch up. But with the Ryan Nelson injury, I just don't see that as possible, because now we have to have Monty in the rotation. So we'll see how that all goes. But that, like, almost an 8 ERA in 35 innings is really, really bad. This start, like, his stuff wasn't that bad in this start. There was the one walk to, I think, Contreras where it was Mitchell, where the ball 4 was a little high, and I thought it could have gone either way. So hopefully he can bounce back.
Yes, I was definitely yelling at they needed to check the umpire's DraftKings account, because that was the difference between a 3-run inning and Brandon Pfaadt getting out of there with the bases loaded and escaping it, and a run being walked in and immediately a grand slam giving up. And then, as you pointed out, Brandon, that ERA in these last 7 starts, it could be due to Gabby. It could not. One of the things to me, whether it's Gabby or not, the hard hit percentages and the contact, like, he's giving up medium or greater contact at a 91% rate. He has given up soft contact over these last 7 starts at a 9% rate, which, again, it's small sample size. Sometimes contact like that can be very misleading. A hard hit ball could be an out, a soft hit ball could be a base hit, but it's a little bit concerning seeing that, especially his fly ball percentage has been just under 40%, which we know he has home run problems, but you can't be giving into some of those issues and letting it show its ugly head a little bit more. But even though with Brandon Pfaadt, kind of putting the offense behind the 8 ball a little bit, that did not mean that they would go quiet. Because, again, even though it was already like 12-0, it looked like the game would be ugly. The Dbacks decided, you know what? It's still Saturday. It's still a jersey giveaway. We're going to make sure at least somebody has something to cheer for. And they did that with 8 runs between the 6th to the 8th. Grichuk had a 2-run home run and then also a RBI single. So he was, continued to swing the bat really well. He ended up, I believe, chasing Tobias Myers, which, props to Myers. He's one of those names where even I was kind of like, who is this guy? And he's been stepping up really big for their rotation, something the D-backs haven't had from one of their pitchers. And Grichuk got to him in this one, and then had himself another RBI single. Josh Bell and Perdomo themselves each had a 2-run single. And then Adrian Del Castillo, I put it in quotes in the clips because he had a RBI single when it really wasn't an RBI single. It was an error, and I don't know how it wasn't listed as an error. But either way, we will take those.
Probably because nobody touched it, so they can't.
Yeah, you can't classify it fully as an error, so understandable. But in the long run, the D-backs still ended up losing by 7, which was the amount that Fott gave up in the second. So even though the outcome wasn't exactly what we all wanted, did this late offensive life from the Snakes put to rest some of the concerns that we might have had after Game 1 when Freddie Peralta and the Brewers bullpen and pitching staff kind of lulled us to sleep? So Gabe, I'm gonna pass it to you. The floor is yours. What are your thoughts on that?
I guess my general thoughts is, let me just look at, it's kind of what I expected. A lot of the runs kind of did come on, some of the, at least for Milner, he's not that good of a pitcher. So I know we've talked about Torrey punting a little bit, but I feel like they sort of, not necessarily punted, but when they're up like 12-2 or whatever, they're going to put in, they're kind of their back end bullpen arms, like they're Paul Sewalds of the world. So didn't inspire too much confidence, but today's game, when they put up 11, that one did, just because of how lethal this bullpen is. But overall, I just thought, especially with going to be combined that first game, like their inability to score where runners in scoring position is, it's getting to the point where it's becoming a little bit dangerous, especially when you face a really good pitching staff. And I know they put up 8 runs in this one, but if you combine the other games, then you start to see some worrying trends, like not scoring if they're not hitting home runs. But luckily with this game, I believe they didn't even hit 1 home run and they scored 8 runs. So
they hit 1 with Randall Grichuk.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, everything else was non home run.
Okay, yeah. So, credit to them at least in that situation. So at least that they did that. But overall, I am still a little worried, just because some of these at bats are a little weird looking, not great. And there's a lot of offers in this game. It basically was the entire bottom half of the lineup that scored all the runs. Like the top half was just completely shut out. It's the bottom half that really showed up for this team. So I want to see a little bit more complete games, have everybody hit a couple, get a couple hits and everything. So, we'll see moving forward. But again, Brewers are a very, very good team. And I think everybody's kidding themselves to say that, this should have been a sweep or they should have won the series. Like when this whole series doesn't come down to who has a better offense in the moment.
Yes, that's where we were kind of talking about it in the pre-series. We may have overlooked the Brewers a little bit and kind of, I know you talked about a few names here and there, Brandon, that we should look out for, and they definitely made it hurt a little bit more. But I agree, the home run is still something that they're relying on too much. 6 of those 8 runs were not on the home run, which is still a fair point, but how many games are they losing when they're not hitting home runs? Like it just seems like I believe there was a article on Snake Pit by Make a Kilo that brought up I sent it to you, Gabe, in the group chat about the D-backs and the percentage of runs they're scoring throughout each month by the home run, and it's skyrocketed over the last 2 months. It's gone from being like a 20-30% to almost over 60%. And if they're not hitting home runs, they're not scoring. But same question to you, Brandon. Was the offensive output kind of in the later half of this game, while it might have, still not have ended up well, was it enough to kind of quell some of the concerns that you had in Game 1, or are some of those concerns after Game 1 still prevalent in your mind?
It put them to ease a little bit. But like Gabe said, the inability with runners in scoring position is, I think it's always going to be a problem, and we're just going to have to get used to it, because they're going to do like what they do here, where they put up runs in bunches. We also saw it in Game 3. Like this team, when they're clicking, it's the best offense in baseball. When they're not, it is the worst off. Like it literally. It's Jekyll and Hyde. And we've used that term several times this year referring to like Ryan Nelson and Zach Gallen, but the whole the Jekyll and Hyde with this off. Like game 1 was a prime example. Like first inning, bases loaded, we get 1 run out of it, and that's it for the game. Then we have this where we're down by 12. Most teams would be like, oh, there's no reason to try. They didn't give up. Like they got it to, I think, 13-8 at one point. So they got almost within slam range. So I don't think there's any game that they're out of. After seeing this, like 13-0, you could have just gave up, and Torrey kind of did when he took out all the main stars. And hindsight, looking back on it, like what would have happened had he left like Walker, Marte, Carroll in there? Like what would have happened there in the later innings? But this offense, I don't think any deficit is too large, and they've shown it multiple times this year that they do not give up like they did early in the year.
I think I would say like the main thing I want to see from them, and I keep saying it, like I'm a broken record, but just score without a home run, because I tweeted it out on the Friday game, like up until combining the 2 series against the Rangers, it was something like 16 out of the 20 runs that they scored were off a home run, and like you can't have that. And they mentioned, oh, well, they had 26 hits. I'm like, they had 26 hits, and if you combine the hits that they had in Friday's game, they had well over 30 hits, 10 walks combined. So I'm like, you had like 30-40 base runners, and you scored 20 runs in 3 games, and it's like that's not ideal. Like there are a lot of the runs are coming in one specific game, and this game, yeah, the offense did show up, and in the next one, but I think they need to figure out a way to put really good contact the way the Brewers did. They seemed to shorten up their swings a little bit against Fott. They were just going the other way, getting whatever he was giving them. They weren't going for home runs, and that completely changes things. Like we've talked about the D-backs having to single teams to death. That's what they did against Fott. They took him out in the second inning because they were just single, and then finally the big blow hit, and that's what this team has to do more often rather than just relying on hitting a whole bunch of home runs to get into this. Like it's going to help a lot, especially in the playoffs, but you have to be able to choke up on the bat, just get a couple singles, string together some hits, and then, not have somebody come up and hit a double play. So, but again, we're still down Gurriel, we're still down Gabby, so maybe in a week we'll all feel differently.
Yes, I know we were kind of talking with Jim about it on the thing. It's going to be a sports fan's natural reaction, especially the end of the year, to kind of, I believe Bubba put it in the chat. Yeah, the masculine urn to say we're back after 20 minutes saying it's over. That's basically going to be us. That's going to be every one of us to the end of the season.
We do this every series, by the way.
Every
we have one bad game. We're like, oh, it's over. Season's over. And then we have stuff like the second half of game 2. Like, oh, we're so back.
And
but
it's
the thing
really
is,
unfortunate.
That's our thing, though. Like, that's what we do. Like, we're so, like, absolutes in terms of up and down. Like, when we're down, we're just like, this is done, no more. But when we're up, no one's louder than we are.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the unfortunate things with, especially for me, that kind of stuck out with the offense coming back is, we'll maybe use that as a segue to game 3, but Dylan Floro, he was also not a, help to the team at all. I know Brandon Fott had his 7 runs given up in, the second inning, but Dylan Floro, ever since being traded to the Dbacks, his last 15 games, he had a 9.37 ERA, and you're like, damn, that's pretty rough. Well, his last 7 games, he had 11.88 ERA. And I don't have the tweet handy on me right now, but Jesse Friedman of PHNX did have a tweet kind of pointing out the dip in Floro's velocity, where he's not throwing. He was already not a hard thrower, and he was already throwing way slower than Paul Sewald. So we all know what that combination is going to lead to. And obviously, it did not lead to any success on this game 2 because he did give up the 5 runs. And if he didn't give those 5 runs, that's a 2-run game. it's still a closer game. It is what it is. But it's like I said, he did end up getting DFA'd going into Game 3. The D-backs let him go. They called up Brandon Hughes. I'm sorry, they called up Brandon Hughes for Ryan Nelson. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up the things. And they let Floro go and called up. Why am I spacing on his name? One of you guys help me out here. Who did they call up for Floro today? Was it Walston? Blake Walston.
Yeah.
So they called up Blake Walston to kind of fill in the role. So obviously, again, like I said, Floro did not help at all. It did not do, much any favors than Fott did, but it's still one of those, you can't be having an 11-something ERA, and thankfully we didn't have to give up much for him. And
I don't know Chaparro. I like Chaparro quite a bit.
I did too, but
for the Nationals.
He was never going to play though. Like that's the thing. He was never going to play.
He's a third baseman. We don't know our future is at third base after Gino's gone. So, he's still young enough that he still can develop into at least a decent third baseman. But still, I think for giving up a guy who was regarded as pretty good to get Dylan Floro, I didn't like the trade to begin with. I felt like they could have gotten someone better than him. And especially for the type of guy who he is, like I wanted him more of a flamethrower, even if they're a little wild. But they gave him as many chances as they could. I think they gave him way too many chances personally, and there were so many games that he just put out of reach or completely blew. So don't want to say good riddance, but hopefully we can get some guys back there that can do a better job than him, and hopefully, I know we're talking about overreacting and stuff like that, but there's 2 weeks left this season, and we can't afford to be giving up games with these back end relievers or anything. Like every game counts, same as the beginning of the year. Every game counts, but we can give certain guys the luxury of figuring it out. And right now, there is no figuring it out. Like it's go time.
Yeah, it's one of those to me, I'm glad they made the move. I was not expecting them to DFA Floro. I figured them making him a trade guy would be, oh no, we'll keep him, we'll let him figure it out. But seeing them, understand, hey, you know what, we're sorry, like it didn't work out. We're not gonna waste more time on you. Personally, I'm okay with it. And the Game 2 was the end of, thankfully, the sad times, as Game 3 was a lot better. But before we even got into Game 3, we have a little bit of a, fun special announcement and a fun, surprise, as we actually have our first ad/sponsorship for the podcast. And, I figured I'd let my man Brandon, have the floor here and explain to you guys and tell you guys the exciting news.
Okay, we're going to have to remove the overlay, so that's not going to work. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Underdog Fantasy here with Dbacks Dispatch. Take a swing and with pick'ems this baseball season on Underdog Fantasy. So one of the things that I really enjoy about Underdog Fantasy is the ability to go higher or lower on your pick'em entries. What I've been doing a lot lately is Gino over 1.5 home runs, aka he hits a homer. And I've been doing really well with it lately. Like, he's been absolutely amazing. So that a lot of my entries on Underdog Fantasy is that. So it is really great. Underdog is available to over 1 million fans across 33 states. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing the higher or lower on your favorite stats like strikeouts, home runs, total bases. Underdog is super easy to play. It's even easier to get started. Literally, you just download their mobile app or go to underdogfantasy.com. And if you sign up with the promo code DISPATCH, Underdog will give you a mystery special pick to use on your first pick'em entry, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code DISPATCH, DISPATCH, to claim your new customer special of a mystery player pick and your deposit offer. You must be 18 plus to enter, 21 plus for Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama and New England, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. It does not work in Colorado. Voids in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org, in Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. If you're in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8 New York, or text Hope New York to 467-369. Just want to say, Underdog Fantasy, use the code DISPATCH when you sign up. Thank you very much.
Sorry, pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah.
We've been running the show for a while there, kind of without ads. Like, we have ads here and there, and it is nice because any of the little bit that we get from any of these ads does go into, kind of getting the merch started and all that. So it definitely does help out the show. So make sure you guys go to Underdog, use the code DISPATCH, download that. Like I said, Brandon was giving his over and under on pick'ems for Geno home runs. Me personally, I enjoy some over-under pitch counts. It's one of the few apps that I found where you can actually have a pick'em entry for a specific pitch count on a pitcher. So you don't have to. We know the Dbacks. They're going to be at their 85 pitches probably in the third, fourth inning. So if you guys know them like we do, go to Underdog, download that, use code DISPATCH. Throw a pick 'em on, maybe the next start, Jordan Montgomery or somebody else going 90 plus pitches. But again, shout out Underdog for all that. But going into game 3, we were trying to avoid the sweep, and thankfully the Diamondbacks did do just that. It did take a few extra innings there. But even before that started, we did get news, obviously, as I kind of mentioned before. Gabby was back. He was activated off the IL, where Paul Sewald, heartbreaker a little bit for all of us. He had some neck issues, so he's going on the injured list. So a little bit of a 1-1 swap there. But Floro DFA'd, and going just into the game itself in general, Zach Gallen, he wasn't terrible, but he definitely wasn't, I feel like the ace that we need him to be, that we talked about in the last podcast going into the final stretch of the season. So, my question to you guys, I'll start with you, Gabe, first, was Gallen's last few starts have been really good overall, but he's been somewhat struggling in the first. Are we worried about, some rough beginnings kind of putting him behind the 8 ball and making it a little bit of a tougher thing to come back from? Or is it one of those where sometimes just you'll face a good team and it takes a good pitcher a little bit to settle into his rhythm?
Yeah. Well, before, I just want to say thank you to our sponsor, and also, like, you're talking about the over-unders. I know some people who did it, like, during the Suns, when they would always have that fourth quarter comeback. So same with the D-backs after the 7th. You could put some money in there and win a lot of money for yourself. And Oscar commented, if I can take us out of the hood now with the sponsorship, maybe if we get some of those boner pills or whatever Joe Rogan takes, like, we out the hood. But in terms of Gallen, yeah, manscaping, what do you call it? What is that bone broth or whatever that Joe Rogan has? But anyways, the Gallen start, I think he's looked better overall. I think the issue is just he's thrown too many pitches. I had it written down about how many 3-2 counts he has. I think that's the biggest issue for me, is just how many 3-2 counts he has. He has to be able to put guys away a lot quicker than that, because he struggles to get to the 5th because of that. Like, he does settle down eventually, but if you're throwing 45 pitches in the first 2 innings, like, it's going to be very hard for you to get to the 4th and through the 5th. Like, it just puts you behind completely. And I think, I don't know if this is what he's trying to do or it's just the way it's working out, but the strikeout rate is very high right now, which is good, but it also makes him go a lot higher with this pitch count. Is just he's sort of looking a little bit like a Spencer Strider right now. And it's good to a certain extent, but with how gassed this bullpen is and with how gassed the starting rotation is, we need him to start playing with the defense a little bit more, having pop-ups and pop-ups, flyouts, ground balls, like just getting just a little bit more contact on these guys. And maybe he's just scared to get contact, in case he gets burned or something. But I still do think maybe he should worry more about getting through quicker innings rather than striking everybody out, because Gallon he's a gamer. Like he literally goes out there and wants to strike everybody out. And I think maybe as of right now, that's working against him. But maybe when Gabby comes back, he can talk to him, let him know, like, hey man, we got you. Like, form a better game plan, and I think he should be able to get through around 6 innings in the next few starts.
Yes, I definitely looking into I think the point of he just can't put guys away. I was kind of mentioning that to my mom at the game today, where it's just so often it seems like he'll get to a quick 0-2 count and we'll just we'll have an 8, 9, 10 pitch at bat, whether he retires the guy or walks him. It's just you can't be doing that, because especially early on in the game, it's gonna drive your pitch count up. So same question to you, Brandon. I want to pass it to you. Is the last few starts, the rough beginnings, something to worry about, or is it maybe just, he's facing some teams that might have a good game plan on him?
I think he's trying to be Robbie Ray. Do not go hunting for the strikeout. Like, that's the problem with him. Like, he's trying to get a shot. Like, he's trying, like, just get the out at this point. It's really starting to worry me for sure. Like, his last few starts, 20 pitches in the first. Like, once you do that, you're really behind the 8 ball when it comes to your pinch count, because now you're going to have to rely on yourself for the next couple of innings to have quick, efficient innings, which if you can keep it under 13 or 14, you might get to the 6th. Like, I would rather him in the 6th or the 5th have the longer pitch innings, personally, because he's kind of into the game. He's kind of in a groove. I'm getting really worried about these really long first pitch innings. But overall, his last few starts have been good. Like, he's keeping the team in the game. Like, what happened after he left was not his fault. He was not the reason that we almost lost this game today. Like, I'm pretty sure when he left, it was 5-3 because he gave up that 3-run homer. So that one was kind of a biggie. But just keep the team in the game. Continue to look good. Like, just keep that pitch count down. Like, just don't try and go for the strikeout. Just go for the out. Pitch to contact. It's okay.
That was one of the things I feel like, because we talked about it last game. Sadly, his inning streak or scoreless inning streak has ended. But that was one of the things, even when he had it going a few years ago and last year when he was going good. It just seems like when he's himself is on his own A game, he's not worrying about just trying to get swing and miss. He's not out there like begging guys to not make contact. Or like if they like last year, it was well known he gave up a lot of hard contact, but he was going somewhat deep into games. He was consistently going 6-7 innings. We're just not seeing that from him this year, where maybe it's him early on, maybe using a few too many pitches here and there. Maybe he's, nibbling around the zone a little bit. Like you said, Brandon, 20 pitches in the first it's not sustainable. And you can't expect to go really deep into games if you're putting that many, bolts, using that many that early into the game. So I know it's definitely something to kind of keep an eye out on, especially with the offense or the rotation itself not being able to go super deep into games. He's got to understand, and at least personally, that he's the ace. He's got to be the one that gives this team some length pause, and can't just
I love how you just no transition. It's like you're like, I'm saying this, I gotta say it right away.
Like, I got to. Like it's constantly is just always going 5 innings. So we need to see him, whether it's the first inning or avoid some of the blow up innings. Needs to just, kind of dial it back a little bit, in my opinion. But thankfully, again, he, like you said, Brandon, he wasn't on the hook, and the D-backs did come back for the rest of this game. It wasn't looking good there. My mom can attest to it. I actually ended up catching a foul ball here in the 10th inning. Was sitting there, oh, cool, ADC starting off, like, please, D-backs, do something. And I just hear the crack of a bat, and my head's kind of like down, like,
looking at your phone, probably.
No, actually, no. My phone during the innings, my phone's in my pocket. That literally, I was just head down, like, oh my god, like we're about to be swept. Oh my god. And I just heard my mom go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And I looked up, and just the ball sailed right into here. And the second that happened, the D-backs, hit after hit after hit, come back. So thankfully, they did end up, coming back to win at the very end. So before we get into some extra or some viewer questions that we have here, and then even a series preview, I want to get some final thoughts really quickly from you two, Gabe and Brandon, on just the series overall, maybe some things that you might have noticed or some things that we didn't touch on. So Gabe, floor is yours. What are some final thoughts on the series really quick?
Well, first of all, like that you just said F them kids and didn't give any stupid kid around you the ball. Like, that's my guy right there. But in concern to the series, I want the offense to be more consistent, and I want to bring up Grichuk. He didn't play at all this series. He was slated to start today, and he just got scratched. Like, I haven't seen anything or heard anything as to what's been going on with him. I don't know if he's nursing some injury, but I will say at this point of the season, everybody has something. Like, none of these guys are truly healthy. Some of them have issues with muscles, toes, fingers. Like, none of these guys are healthy right now. So hopefully Grichuk can get back into the lineup for tomorrow, and they can go into Colorado and hopefully sweep, because we're at the point where we need to start sweeping the bad teams. And I know Colorado has a good offense, but it's not a very good team, and they need to start sweeping the bad teams if they want to at least stay in line with the likes of the Mets, with the Braves and stuff. But yeah, just maybe hopefully the pitching can adjust a little bit. I know it's core, so they're going to be asking for a lot for these teams to come out there and pitch really well. But, it is right now, it is what it is. So hopefully the offense can show up, get some stat padding type numbers, and, go the rest of the way.
Yes, it would definitely be nice to see them kind of go into cores, and no disrespect for the Rockies, but bitch them around a little bit, like they should.
They don't have an option. They have to.
They have
the way San Diego's playing right now, they have to sweep. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have to sweep the Rockies.
Fully, yeah. And then Oscar, as you bring it up in the chat, honestly, I'll fully admit, I caught the foul ball. My brain immediately went through, holy shit, did I just catch a foul ball? And I didn't even think about giving it to a kid. So shame on me, cancel me, and all that. I think V kind of has my back on this one. It's always F them kids.
FDK,
as Michael Jordan said, let me F them kids. But Brandon, same question to you. I know you kind of touched on a little bit. They have to sweep the Rockies, but what are some final thoughts from you from this series with the Brewers, and then heading into the next one against the Rockies?
Jackson Chourio is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Jackson Chourio, like, if your name's Jackson and you're like 20, 21 years old, you're freaking good, because you got Jackson Mayo, Jackson Chourio, Jackson Holiday. Like, the Jackson, like, if there were like 5 really good Jacksons, it'd be super funny because you call them the Jackson 5. And Brentley has made that joke numerous times because it works. It's absolutely funny. Just starting pitching, man. Like, starting pitching right now is the one thing personally that I think is holding us back. If we could, the Chicago White Sox have a better starting pitching ERA than we do. Like, that, when I look, like, I saw someone tweet, I'm like, there's no way that's true. I looked it up and I posted it in the Discord. They do have a better starting pitching ERA than we do, because our guys are not going deep into games. And a lot of people are bringing up, is it on Strom? No. Strom is literally a top 5 pitching coach of all time. So I'm going to shut that down right away. Like, if you're trying to say, oh, maybe they should let Strom go, do you Like, have you not seen how Gallen has progressed since Strom has worked with him? Same with Merrill Kelly. Same with Brandon Pfaadt. Like, so yeah, no, it's not Strom's fault. So just go sweep the Rockies, please. Like, you have to.
Yeah, this is, as Gabe said, we're getting down to the final games of the season, and like you said, Brandon, we need to sweep with the way the Padres are playing. Also, yes, I agree. Red Sox, send a picture of your. We need to make an animal Discord or animal channel in our Discord so we can all share our fur friends.
I'm gonna do that right now.
So yeah, do that, and then there's a little self plug. If you guys again are listening, I know a lot of people have joined and all that, but if you are not yet in there, join the Discord, because one of the beautiful things about the Discord,
it's in the description, ladies and gents.
Thank you. Because one of the beautiful things about it is we do have a channel in there for viewer questions, and that's one of the little segue there. One of the things that we like to do here at the end of every one of our shows is we want to give you guys a chance to have a little bit of input. Maybe there's some thoughts that you guys have, maybe some ideas and whatnot. So instead of it, maybe kind of being lost in the shadow realm of all the Discord and the Twitter notifications, we have that there. So again, go join there. But I'm going to pass it on to Brandon, because he was the one that went through and got the questions all queued up. So I'm going to pass it on to him. And we got a few good ones here. I'm not going to lie. You guys were showing out. So Brandon, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I completely forgot to ask about Discord questions. It was Brett that was was letting people know, make sure to get in your questions. You guys gave us some really, really good ones today. There were 4 people that asked, but like 2 of them were kind of the same, so we're kind of gonna lump it together. And I didn't know how you guys felt, so I just made sure to not show your Discord name. That's your personal stuff. So this first one. What happened to the pitching? And relief pitching seems to be a problem more than the starting pitching. Pfaadt is the exception. Am I off? Are the guys tired? So I'm going to start here. I think it's Gabby, y'all. I really do, because I went and looked at Brandon Pfaadt's numbers March to basically July. Like, Gabby went out August 5th. So through that time, his ERA was just under 4. And his opponent OPS was just under 700. So, and his WHIP was like 1.12. So really not that bad. At month of August, I mean, since Gabby was out, August 5th is when he got hurt. His number, like we already spoke about it, his ERA almost at 8 in 35 innings with a 925 OPS. It's Gabby, ladies and gentlemen. Like, last year, we had the same thing. When Gabby got hurt and was out, like, this team was just different. This year, it was something like something different was off with this. Gabby's back, so now we'll be able to see, like, I can just see it now. Like, the next 2 weeks, our starters go like 6 and 7 innings, 3 runs, and then all of a sudden, like, I think we're 14, 15 games left? No, I think it's 13 now. 13 games left. Watch us go like, I don't know, 9 and 4 or something with Gabby back. And I'm just like, okay, Mike Hazen, go pay the man. Just go pay Gabby. Like, he is our MVP. Like, I know Cattell plays well. Carroll's been great too. So is Gino. It's Gabby. This team is just different when he's not playing. So I think they're probably going to slow roll him to playing games. Maybe play him like 2 games in a row and then sit him, or like play, not play, play, not play. Tori, you can't do that right now. Like, these last 13 games are so important. We need to win pretty much every single one. So, yeah, it's Gabby.
Yes, I think one of the things I like for you blocked the names, good point, but what happened to the pitching, to me genuinely, I don't know what actually happened to the pitching. It's not at all what I would expect. We were talking about it in the beginning of the season. You can go back and look at the the spring training pods, this team on paper was looking to have possibly one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball. And the biggest question mark was the offense, and it's been the complete opposite. So I don't know if again, I agree. It's not on Strom at all. Like, Strom is not the issue whatsoever. He's one of the best pitching coaches there is. Sometimes, again, I know we always want to, blame it on Torrey or Strom. Sometimes, like Brandon Fott had in his post-game presser after game 2, sometimes the players just got to take the blame themselves. And, sometimes that's what it is. The players aren't always going to be performing well. And if at least they can take the blame when they do, then I'm okay with it. I'm not too surprised. But Gabe, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I think the short answer is injuries. This team has not had a healthy starting rotation this entire season. They even when they started, they just had Gallen, Kelly, Fott, and Nelson. Nelson got in because of the injuries, so he wasn't even supposed to be here. But because of the injuries, they had to play him. And like I said, this whole season, they lasted with that rotation for 2 weeks, and they pitched very well those first few weeks. They were looking very good, other than Nelson at that point. And then everyone else got hurt. And here's the thing, guys, coming back from injury is not easy. You literally just can't plug and play guys, especially pitchers, just because of the nature of pitching, which you're going out every other day, every 5 days. As hitters, you get your rhythm after about a week or so. With pitchers, you take so much longer. You can take up to a month or two to get back into rhythm. And the thing is, it's not just the D-backs. We've seen teams have these issues and they struggle. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are at 88 games now, right? Because of today. They're at 88 wins, and I know they spent $1 billion on Shohei Ohtani, but they're having the exact same issues with, if you look at their starting pitching, we just have one or two guys that have more innings than them, but overall, they've had to plug and play the same as us. Again, but their main difference is they have Shohei Ohtani, who is single-handedly, worth 7+ games. So if you take Shohei Ohtani out of that lineup, they're in, even below the wild card spot right now. So I do think a lot of it has to do with them being injured. What can you do? If guys are hurt, if they have shoulder problems, other cramping issues, it's not going to be fixed the next start. It's just not. And to expect guys with 30, 40, 50 innings this season so far to come out and be perfect, I think we're asking too much. But the unfortunate side of it is just it's September. And if this was May, we wouldn't worry about it, like Brandon said. But it's September, so now everything is under a microscope. Every single start, every single pitch, everything matters in a way it didn't early on.
Yes, I think you bring up a great point. Baseball is a little bit of a tougher sport to kind of plug and play. It's not like football. A guy can come back from maybe a shoulder injury, he slides in there. You can limit some of the snaps he gets. You can limit maybe some of the coverage and all that he gets. But baseball, it's not like that. Especially a starting pitcher, when you're out there, you're kind of thrown to the wolves, where you're gonna have people like us, where if you're not going out there and you're not performing to our expectations, and I believe. I'm forgetting which one of you guys mentioned it last time about Erod basically going through this is what I think it was you, Brandon. If he puts up these kind of starts in April, we don't bat not. But because it's not April, it's late in the season. We're gonna judge it a little bit differently, but that's not fully on him. Sometimes a pitcher can't fully handle that. So I think those are some great points. Brandon, what was one of the other questions that we had from the Discord?
Yeah, I kind of went more in depth with it already. But question 2, how optimistic can we be about the rest of the season with Gabby back? And what does that mean for our catching depth? So right now, we do have 3 catchers with Gabby being activated today. We got Gabby, Jose Herrera, and Adrian Del Castillo. I'm not sure ADC will be actually catching very much going forward. I think he's going to be a DH and a pinch hitter because there's been a lot of games where I would say certain pitchers are not getting calls because the way that ADC is catching the ball. That's one thing that Gabby does very well is his ability to frame pitches because he comes from up and he goes like this. Like, I think that's a very underrated skill that Gabby has. So I think I feel a lot better just because of how this team plays when Gabby's in the lineup. I think they just all love playing together. So when they're all healthy, the vibes are there, and it truly does make a difference. So I could see with Gabby back, the one thing I'm looking out for is how different the starting pitching is. Literally, this next series against the Rockies.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really tough, especially a Coors Field series is never a fun way to judge a pitcher, and we definitely we need our guys to be aces, and of course the way the schedule is turning out is we get to go to Denver, maybe the early winter, kind of like the temperature will die down a little bit, but like you said, we definitely need the starters to kind of be on their A game when they go into Colorado. But Gabe, same question on to you.
I think one of the biggest aspects is not just the pitch framing and everything, the way he controls the game, but the running. The run game, they just run train on these guys. So it extends innings in a way that, again, it's not going to show up on the box score because, an earned run is an earned run. But the fact that Gabby keeps guys at first, if Gallon walks a guy, he stays on first because of, Gabby's back there. With ADC and Herrera, the guy's on second before you know it. And then I think today, too, the guy was on third, like by the time they got one out. So that contributes to runs because at that point, all you need is a little ground ball, a fly out, and a run scores. And with Gabby back there, that guy, those runs don't score. And I think that contributes a lot to the earned runs, the amount of extended innings that they have, because if the guy stays at first, instead of the ground ball moving him to third, it's a double play. So I think having him back, having him control the run game, I think it's going to make a huge difference in innings getting extended and then being able to get the outs that they need. And I think, other teams might want to test him, but he's probably going to get them out more often than not. So I think that's the main thing we can really look forward to seeing is just teams not running like they used to.
Yes, I feel like teams have over the last month or so have really taken advantage of knowing that we don't have Gabby, so they're just running amok. And I mentioned in our group chat, getting Gabby back, especially before this upcoming after the Rocky series, the next 4 games in Milwaukee. We just saw the Brewers have guys like Frelick, Churio, like Mitchell himself as well, like Terang, a bunch of guys that kind of remind me a little bit of 2023 Dbacks, where they'll get on, they'll steal, they'll create chaos themselves, and having Gabby back behind the plate for not only that series but for just the rest of the season itself is, I feel like, one of the more underrated things. And we've talked about it, but limiting the bases being stolen is so huge, and whether it's on the pitchers themselves not timing it right or the catcher not having the proper throw. Because even today there was a steal. I think it was a stolen base on ADC, and I promise you, Gallon just did not even check the runner. It was either him or Ginkle, just did not even check the runner. Just let him steal it like by a mile. So sometimes it is on the pitcher, but maybe having Gabby behind the plate can keep that pitcher from having that kind of delayed reaction. But Brandon, I believe we had one more Discord question before we get to our one of our YouTube chat questions. So
they're actually somewhat similar. So this last one is, does today's win make you feel better about the season? And our question chat, was today's game the craziest game of the year? So like they kind of go hand in hand with the way that today's game was. Absolute freaking chaos. Oh my Lord. So we're 5-0. Then 5-3, then we go down 8-5, then we tie at 8-8, then we go down 10-8, and then because Brett caught a foul ball, we end up winning 11-10. This team's ability to just score run, like the fact is, they're like 70 or 60 runs better than the second place teams in terms of runs scored, which is the New York Yankees. Like this was just absolutely insane. Biggest win of the year, in my opinion. Without a doubt, this was the biggest win of the year. If we would have lost this game, we would have been 2 games back of the Padres, and then we'd only be 1.5 games up on the Braves and Mets. But because we won, I feel it's a double win because we're now back to 2 games up on the Braves and the Mets, which makes me feel a lot better. Because I think out of the 4 wildcard teams, I'm pretty sure our remaining schedule is the most difficult. So win as many games as you can. So I don't know if this was the most crazy game of the year. I feel like the comeback win against the Nats was more impressive because it was like 8 runs in I think like 3 innings. I thought that was more special. But like most of the fan base, it's what have you done for me lately? Like, had we had this stream last night, Saturday night, I think our views and feelings would be a lot different than they are right now.
Yeah, so I mean, even last night alone, I got home. Like, I don't like to leave games early, and the main reason why we even left is because my dad's the kind of person I get from him where if the team's not doing good, he will turn off the TV and walk into the other room. You don't have that luxury when you're at the actual baseball game. The second that grand slam was hit, my dad was already up and out of there, like out of the seat, and I was like, I didn't see him for 2 innings, and then he was like, hey, can we go? So I definitely was not enjoying myself leaving there. So that's why I think today, just going off of was today the biggest win. I would say at least the biggest win of the month. I wouldn't say of the season. I think Brandon's point of the win against the Nationals, just going off of, the probability of them winning, to at least today, like it was a 2-run deficit in extra innings. You start with the runner on. It's not too out of the question to see them come back. But I do think that given the stakes of the race and the stakes of how these games boiling down the rest of the season are going to play out, I think it is going to be one of those where we look back on it and whether they do make it all the way or do make it to the playoffs still, or they do miss it by a game or 2, this will be one of the games where at least we don't have to worry about looking back in a negative way. So, Gabe, same question to you.
Still not confident in the offense. I just want to see what they do against Colorado. I feel like, yeah, it's what have you done for me lately? But again, it's the last 2 weeks of the season. So what you've done for me lately is going to matter more than any other time of the years. And I think the craziest game, I think it'd probably be that Cubs game where they were down, then they were up, and then they were down. Then Marte hit that home run, like where the pool is, but it barely grazed over, so they check it. And then Grichuk won it an extra inning. So I think that one, just because it was like 12-11, like just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that was early. I think that was probably in April or something like that. So that's probably the craziest game. But overall, I think they just had such chaotic games where offense is just dead, and then it's just like surprise, and then they take the lead and score 20 runs in 3 innings or something. So overall, this is we're nearing the end of the season, but this has been truly one of the more fun seasons in a long time, just because of how fun this team still is despite all the injuries. Like I've been having a lot of fun, but hopefully we can have even more fun in a month from now.
Yeah, I know you brought up earlier in the show about them having a worse ERA than the Chicago White Sox, and that's to me going to be one of the things to look, at least we might be glass half full, we might be like you said, the sports of what have you done for me lately, but if we do end up missing the season after we have probably the best Diamondbacks offense that we have seen and we might see for years to come, it would just kind of sting a little bit more. Again, I don't think they will. I think they're still going to make the playoffs, but it definitely would kind of be a little bit of a kick in the nards that I don't think we would fully recover from until opening day comes around the next year. And we're like, cool. Yes, let's, wash our hands of, last season. But speaking of washing our hands and, kind of moving on, and moving on from this Series L, even though, again, we ended things well. We mentioned it before, we do get to go on into Colorado, into Coors Field to face the Colorado Rockies for the final time this season. The only starting pitchers that are actually listed for the series is tomorrow's Game 1, which is Merrill Kelly versus Antonio Senzatella. I believe this is his first start of the season. Yeah, so it looks like it's his first start coming off the IL. So don't know what we're going to see from him, but hopefully we can see Merrill kind of, continue his trend, bounce back to being the mainstay. And then the next two games, neither starting pitchers are listed. So I have no idea what the D-backs are doing. I have no idea what the Rockies are doing, but I'll start with Gabe on this. What are your, maybe initial thoughts, or what are you, even some predictions going into this series against the Rockies?
They need to sweep. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They need to sweep the Rockies. Like, I don't care if it's in convincing fashion or not. They just need to take these 3 games and then move on for the 4 in Milwaukee, because if they can only take 2, or even if they, God forbid, they don't win the series against the Rockies, then going into Milwaukee like that, we don't want to be doomers, but I think that could, spell an end to this season. But yeah, I mean, I guess also I just want to bring up real quick, Jordan Lawler is back and he just hit a home run, so shout out to him. But yeah, go out and sweep.
I say, me personally, I need to see them sweep. It's always tough because we've mentioned it before, especially in Coors Field, and that's what sucks so much about this timing is anytime you ask for a sweep in Coors Field is just seems like a tall order, because you need your pitching to just not suck and you need your offense to be ready to put up. Our offense is ready to put up and put out. They've been putting up and putting out all year. They're sluts out here for some runs, and we need them to continue that trend. But Brandon, passing it on to you, what are some maybe predictions or some initial thoughts that you have going on into the series against the Rockies?
I don't care if you win by 10, if you win by 1. Like Gabe said, just sweep. This series is a really good chance to gain some ground back on the Padres because they're playing the Astros. So if you sweep them and maybe they win 2 or 3, or they get swept, or they win 1 of 3, like that's a way to gain that ground. Because 1.5, like, it's very obtainable. Like, I keep going back and forth as to what position I want the Diamondbacks to be in for the playoffs, but at this point, I'm like, just get in. At this point, I don't care. Like, I kind of don't want to play the Brewers after what they did to us this weekend. Again, my thoughts may change next Sunday after that 4-game series, but just sweep them, please.
Yeah, I kind of agree. At the moment, I don't want to face the Brewers. I also don't want to face the Padres. I just don't want to face either one. And those last, final 7 games of the season, I guess 10 because the Giants are after them. Those games are definitely going to be a little bit of a test of who do we actually want to face when it comes to the playoffs. Like, who are we more, suitable when it comes into, matching each team. But thank you very much to each and every one of you guys for, kind of coming in, chatting, keeping the comment section lively. Mr. 3-incher coming at the very end there. Shout out to you. Daniel Duncan, Corbin Barrels, Shug, shout out to you. Red Sox Nation, Bubba V, William Harold, and then Oscar as well. Again, shout out to each and every one of you guys. Thank you very much again to our new sponsor, Underdog. Again, if you guys have not downloaded that, go to Underdog Fantasy. Use code Dispatch, get some of those pick'ems in. Again, I like some over-unders on the pitch count. Those are my favorites. But, just go on and win the series against the Rockies. That's the only parting thoughts that I have is just we're coming down to the last of the season. This is the last bad team you have to face. Show why you are a playoff contender. Show why you are the number 1 offense. And just prove that, like I said, go out there and bitch the Rockies around. Don't let yourself go in there and look like you're going to get spoiled by the Rockies. Go out there and show them, who's boss. So Gabe, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just like I said earlier, just sweep the Rockies, and then we'll all feel a lot better coming into the podcast on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some over or unders for some pick'em slips. But Brandon, really quickly, any final 30-second thoughts from you on this one?
starting pitchers, you need to pitch better. Like, that's all I'm going to say. Like, that's been the biggest disappointment here for me in the second half of the year is most of them have not pitched very well for the most part. So if they can pitch better, I'll feel a lot. Because if the playoffs started today, I don't know how I'd feel like with this team right now. So just starting pitchers, just don't make Torrey overuse our bullpen.
I agree. So just give us a little bit of length, especially in Coors Field. You're gonna need as much depth as you can get from your starting rotation. So I think this will be a very crucial series for the D-backs to kind of get right. But again, thank you to each and every one of you guys for coming in. If you guys obviously aren't in the Discord yet, make sure you look into the description below and also on Twitter. Follow us on there. And then check us out on Apple and Spotify. I had somebody at the game the other day. Actually, it was kind of funny. My mom was bragging to people about like me and you guys having a podcast, and some dude behind us who was a Brewers fan was like, "Oh, you guys, do you have a podcast?" He's like, "I love Arizona sports, other than obviously the D-backs, but I still listen to all that." So be like him. Go follow us on Apple Podcasts and all that. And then make sure to check out everything on AZ Snake Pit as well, because not only do we have recap articles, but they're just very good insight and breakdowns on games and players itself. So check them out there. But in the meantime, we will see you guys on Wednesday or Thursday for another recap. Hopefully, a minimum, a series win against the Rockies, and we can be a little bit more in a positive mindset. But in the meantime, you guys take it easy. We will see you guys soon.
Dbacks, dispatch. Yeah, brand new red game, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home run dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a stat, Caesar man was a plan. Red brace it down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. Ain't got that insight, 7 weeks ahead. Tune in, Dbacks, dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. D-Backs, dispatch, yeah. Drop the brand and Brandon Gay, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he make the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the band. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-Backs, dispatch, we hit the stage. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-Backs, dispatch, we